We're on the verge of the biggest global financial messaging transformation in history. What are we talking about? We're talking about ISO 20022, how RippleNet and XRP connect to the world's financial messaging system, and what is the history of all this. I'm going to get into everything that you need to know. I'm going to tell you what is going to happen on November 22nd, what to expect over the next 2 weeks. Is crypto and XRP and other ISO tokens going to explode, or is it going to be another kind of sell the news event? I'm going to give you everything you need to know. Let's just jump in and start. Here is Unknown DLT dropping some heat. He said today marks the beginning of November, the month in which all or almost all central and commercial banks will speak the same language, ISO 20022. Through this native language, institutions will be able to implement instant settlement using APIs that connect to DLT. Most people still don't know what this means and the huge change it will bring to the financial system. Ripple has been preparing for this moment for over a decade. XRP is the technology that will be adopted. It was created by the US for this purpose. There is no other technology that is neutral, efficient, cheap, fast, and secure. XRP will be the absolute leader in cross-border payments worldwide. And so Stellar Rippler had a great thread here about ISO. So let's go through it and better understand this, because I know there's a lot of new people coming into the space. And this is a good lesson or reminder for the people that kind of know most of this information already. What is ISO 20022? Well, it's the global standard for financial messages, like a universal language for banks and payment systems to use to talk with each other fast, rich, and standardized. Why was it created? The old systems like SwiftMT are outdated, they're inconsistent, and don't carry a lot of info. ISO 20022 allows structured, detailed, and secure data across borders. So basically, when you're sending a payment message, you can enhance it with more information. That more information, you can actually attach crypto to it and have that instant settlement feature if you so choose to. What makes this better? Full transaction details, faster processing, lower errors, better fraud detection, and works like modern tech like APIs and blockchain. And so here's some advanced benefits. So end-to-end automation stimulates new solutions and simplifies processing, global standardization, bringing everybody onto the same standard. So imagine that you go and you travel the world and you go to a country and everyone's speaking a different language. You go to another country and everyone's speaking a different language. This is kind of what you have with banks and different messaging standards. Everybody's talking a different language. So imagine you woke up every day and all of these financial institutions started speaking English or Japanese, whatever the language it is, they're starting to talk with each other and are able to communicate no matter which financial institution it is. And it just brings them all together. They can connect. And so they don't have to worry about what is that bank using? Do we have to change this? Everyone speaks the same language. Versatility to respond to economic, technological, and innovation modifications. End-to-end high quality data across payment systems. Improve customer satisfaction via credibility. Less mutual intervention. Better security, fraud prevention, and adaptability. And integration via XML to all market infrastructures and payment systems. And it says what's inside an ISO message. Like old formats, ISO 20022 uses XML-based data, which includes sender and receiver info, purpose of the payment. It can include invoice, tax, and reference data all in the same message. And so what does this mean for crypto and blockchain? ISO 20022 opens the door for blockchain systems to interact with global finance. And this is kind of a messy, gargled thing, but we'll talk about more of that in a later. And a lot of these assets are talked about being ISO compliant, but it's not actually the crypto that's compliant. And we'll get into that in just a second here. So what do we need to know about November 22nd? Here it is. ISO 20022 migration end date is November 22nd, 2025, marking a pivotal moment for global payment systems. By this deadline, legacy Swift MT messages like MT103 or MT202 for cross-border payments will officially be decommissioned across the Swift network and replaced by ISO 20022 MX formats for core payment instructions. This is considered to be one of the biggest global financial messaging transformations in history, impacting virtually every bank, financial institutions connected to Swift. So what happens on the 22nd? All cross-border payments must be sent using ISO format. Swift legacy FinMT message systems like those we read above will no longer be accepted or processed, and only ISO 20022 messaging will be available for core payment flows. A Swift contingency service will temporarily support automatic conversions in institutions lagging in this migration, but this is a transitional, not intended for long-term use. Additional technical validations and possible penalties will begin for institutions clinging to legacy systems starting in 2026. So any legacy systems that have not updated by 2026, they're actually going to start being fined, and they will actually be cut off from the financial system if they don't upgrade. So this will, like I said, be the largest shift, the largest global financial messaging transformation in history. And so why is this important? Global standardization, rich data structure, real-time payments, cost and error reduction, compliance and future proofing, and all of the above. And of course, this started all the way back in 2004. Can you believe it? It's been over 20 years they've been trying to get this all done, and we're almost at that point. Now, this is Pega Satani. She's the head of payments products at Ripple. She's going to talk a little bit about ISO. Let me just go ahead and break this down.
In today's payment world, the standards are really different around the world. So if you're using the SWIFT system or TIPS in Europe or Fed in US, you follow a different protocol. In addition, the data that you can transfer, the richness of that data is really limited. So what you get is a bunch of closed networks that don't speak to each other, and unstructured data that's opaque. So there's a lot of manual intervention and ultimately a really poor payment experience. With ISO 20022, these problems will be solved. So ISO 20022 is a global standard for financial information exchange. This enables interoperability between different systems, straight through processing of payments, and rich data transfer. And it'll also foster competition because it's open and flexible. At Ripple, we've been aligned with ISO 20022 from day one. We've always recognized that this is the direction of payment and it'll be better for everyone. And we were really a first mover on that front. We've also joined the standard body to help contribute to how payments will shape in the future. Going back to your point around security, Ripple's also really committed to the highest standards in safety, privacy, and security. And a testament to this is that we have our SOC 2 certification. For those not very familiar with SOC 2 reports give really valuable information about an organization's security capabilities. So each of their customers and users can have confidence in that service, which means that anyone using Ripple's solution knows that we adhere to the most modern security and privacy standards. And in line with that, we've also received our SOC 2 Type 2 report. So not only do we have the policies and processes in place around various criteria related to security, availability, and the integrity of the system, but also that we've been doing so consistently for a period of time.
All right, let's continue here. And then ISO 20022 will enable instant settlement, not just messaging, allows for the use of compliant technology like RippleNet and XRP. So remember, RippleNet is ISO compliant. Okay, the payment system is ISO compliant. And yes, you can use XRP through that system. All right, so just remember, the tokens are not ISO compliant. It's the payment systems that are ISO compliant. That is a major point that a lot of the community still doesn't know. Like, I guess in the early days when you're still learning about all of this stuff, I was learning about it too, but now I know what it is and I know what it isn't, and that's what it is and isn't. Was that clear? Oh no, what? That was an is and isn't? Oh man, it's been a long week. I do apologize. Let's just keep going here. This is Swift talking about 91% of financial institutions will be migrated by the deadline. This is kind of a boring clip. I do apologize, but it is directly from them talking about this movement.
So I think it's a lot of effort for us.
Look at all these messages.
There's a lot of legacy systems, and really kind of, again, one of the great benefits of the ISO 20022 migration, the reason why we're seeing this in the whole global community, because as you said, Omar, the instant payment systems in a lot of countries have already been on ISO 20022, but the reason why we're doing it in the cross-border space is really for that richer data. Just as an example, I always like to point out the MT103 is around 2,000 characters versus the PAX 08 is over 8,000 characters. So having so much more richer data in there, it takes effort. It does take a lot of work. And I think that's the reason that we're seeing it. But what I will say is when we come down to the ISO adoption, we're at 38.5% right now. Obviously, a lot of countries are going with their local market infrastructures, which maybe causes, is reason why we're not at maybe higher. But, we do Swift. We are interviewing the top 175 institutions on a quarterly basis. And, they're all, and those cover around 86% of our total traffic. And they are telling us that, they will be ready. We'll be sending 100% native ISO by November. So we do fully expect to see a huge number of our clients ready by November, even if we're only at 38.5%.
All right, let me go ahead and show you this, of course, years in the making. If Swift money monopoly wants to exist, then they must use a digital commodity that everyone has access to. And so, the real question here is, how is XRP going to be used? And on what scale is it going to be used in this new system? And Crypto Eerie did have a great point here. XRP is the only native digital asset on the XRP ledger. XRP has nothing to do with ISO 20022. Ripple's RippleNet Biz is not XRP ledger. So just wanted to clarify those few things. And then so here it is again, Ripple's connection to ISO 20022 is primarily through Ripple, the company, and RippleNet payment network, not directly through XRP, the cryptocurrency itself. RippleNet is ISO 20022 compliant, meaning it can process and convert messaging standards used by major financial institutions and for payments, making integration and messaging interoperability with banks and payment providers possible according to the latest international financial standards. And of course, key points on Ripple, XRP, and ISO. XRP is a digital asset. It itself is nothing compliant with ISO 20022. Ripple, the company, joined the ISO standards body in 2020 to help set up some of these standards, which was cool. RippleNet, Ripple's enterprise payment solution, supports ISO 20022 and connects clients to a network of global financial institutions through APIs. Some products can and developer efforts such as crypto ISO 20022 interop are being built on the XRP ledger to enable interoperability between ISO 20022 file formats and cryptocurrency payments for enterprise accounting. So there's a lot of things happening here. And then TS here, or Team Money, says XRP has nothing to do with ISO. A lot of people just saying this. Ripple's RippleNet tech is what speaks to ISO. XRP just comes in the picture when RippleNet starts using on-demand liquidity. So XRP is compatible with RippleNet and ISO. Just because ISO is live doesn't mean ODL is live and using XRP to the magnitude we expect in the future. November means nothing for XRP. So this is absolutely true. In my personal opinion, nothing is going to happen on the 22nd. We've already seen millions of payments happening daily with crypto. What we're missing here, ladies and gentlemen, we're missing regulation in the United States. We don't have financial institutions fully using crypto, stablecoins, and connecting digital assets into ISO messages for instant settlement because the rules of the road are not yet established. And so I don't think anything will happen on the 22nd. In fact, you could have a kind of like a sell the news event, but just if you see people saying the market is going to explode on the 22nd, take a deep breath and understand one has nothing to do with the other. And I just don't think we're going to see a big pop just yet. I do think as regulation sets in, as financial institutions move into this technology over the next few years, I do think you're going to see a utility price for a lot of these assets we still speculate on, but that's not today. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here, guys. Aloha.